There are a few gyms and a few people that made it through and got the success metrics that we say we can get people, which is that seven-figure, $1 million a year gym. Laura and Melissa didn't want me to brag about that. And have five, six, seven full-time coaches, averaging $75 an hour and making 60, 70, 80,000 a year. Sometimes 100 if they want to burn themselves out. That's pre-tax stuff. So they've done it. These ladies have figured out how to do it. And what's even more interesting is Melissa was a coach in the system and then bought into the business, and now they're partners, which that really warms my heart. So these ladies have figured it out. Somehow they got through. I want to hear their journey today, and they've also got some stuff that they've been doing that I want to learn from. So say hi, ladies, and start where you want to start.
Where do we want to start?
Where would you choose to start? Why did you decide to buy a gym? I'll start you. Why did you decide to buy a gym, Laura?
I decided, and then we'll go to me on why I decided to continue that.
Yeah. Why did you want to open a gym?
It's actually kind of a fun story. So, I was in nursing prior to this, and have always kind of been passionate about health, fitness, nutrition, that kind of stuff. Had 3 boys, pretty back to back, and took a couple years out of nursing, and then was ready to get back into something, but didn't exactly know what I want to do. And I just got this wild hair one day, came home to my husband and said, I think I want to buy our gym that we were just members at the time. And he said to me, you can have the gym if you want. I want the building that we're in. Those were his exact words.
Well, he's a smart man. That's what we all should have done.
Was a process, but figured out kind of the purchase of the business in early 2017. We just hit our 5-year mark of owning the gym. And I will say that at the time we went through quite a number of meetings with accountants and financial advisors, and every single person told me not to do it, that it would ruin my life, that I would never see my kids, that I'd be here at 5 a.m, that I'd be here at 11 at night, and that we would never make any money doing it.
Well, that's what most gym owners have experienced, especially people that bought into the whole functional fitness CrossFit movement. But it's the same in yoga and Pilates, and like almost everyone that opens a gym just gets completely overwhelmed and burnt out. Like you can do that one for the Gipper for a year or two, but they were right. Right.
Yeah. But I will say that we've done a lot of things that I think we've done well, but there were a lot of things in place already when I stepped into that role. There was already a great community of people here. There were already some of these systems in place. So it wasn't like we built it from absolute scratch,
So I'm going to focus on Laura just for a little bit here and let her run with it, Melissa, and then we're going to get her to take us up to where you come into the story, which we've done it now for 3. I've actually done a sale, but a partnership, we haven't got many of those. I think it's less than a handful, and the stories are really unique. It's usually growth mindset people that are good people can do it, because the people that don't have growth mindsets, or like you're gonna fuck me, there's no way they could ever do that. So I can tell by that smile you guys have figured this out. You don't hate each other. All right, Laura, you bought the gym. Can I ask you how did you figure out how much to pay for the thing?
It was hard. It was tough. And to be honest, like it's 5 years removed now. I know the EBITDA number was in there, and there was multipliers, and there was conversations with accountants and people but at the end of the day, it was just kind of like we had to go with a number that I could live with and she could live with, and whether it was right or wrong. I mean, again, a lot of the people told me that we were paying too much for it and that we shouldn't do it, but we did.
At the time, how many square feet was the building?
We're in the same building.
Yeah.
Today. We have 12,000 square feet. We have 8,000 square feet of gym warehouse space and 4,000 square feet of office space.
How much was the rent then to buy? That's a big thing to buy. What was the rent like 5 years ago?
I think that we started, maybe it was like 8,000 a month.
Okay, so that's a lot to take on. What was the approximate gross revenue a month when you took it on, and did it make any money when you took it on?
Well, we took out some debt to buy the business. And so, I mean, I was making lofty payments on that even at the beginning, and we could afford to do that. So there's never been a time, even from the very beginning, that we were like flipped upside down. You know, we were positive cash flow from the get-go. And I think I was able to pay off like the loan that we took out to buy the business. I mean, we put some cash down, but was able to pay that off in, I think, maybe 2.5 years.
Awesome. You bought someone who already had a pretty good system in place that was making money. And why did they leave? Why did they want out?
They had some other businesses, and she had young kids as well, and was just ready to pass the torch.
Right. Well, great. All right. So we talked before, you know, everybody told you you're going to be burnt out and pulling your hair out, working day and night, and it was going to fail. Don't buy it. How's it been? What's life been like the last 5 years?
I think Melissa and I both agree that like we ebb and flow with that. You know, there have been moments for sure that I felt like that we both have felt like we were working to death. And I mean, like, take, for example, the COVID months of shutting down and just trying to figure out like what to do with this and how to survive. And, you know, times outside of that where it just felt like I was on the phone late at night and doing things while my kids were running in circles around me. And, but I would say that looking back at my 5-year journey, and it's going to be a little bit for Melissa because I've never coached on the floor. You know, so it is a different experience, but looking back over my 5 years, I absolutely don't feel like that. I feel like it was one of the best life decisions that I've made, just from, not just a business standpoint, but just life fulfillment and enjoyment. And I've loved it. So, you know, we've had a conversation this week about like how long we want to do this, and I don't know, but I don't think we're ready yet to
sustainable.
Get out, so.
It's sustainable. You got a sustainable business.
Yeah, it's definitely sustainable for me. And I knew day one, and I will still say it today, like we have to have amazing trainers that feel valued and love what they do as well. And it's sustainable for them. I believe in those concepts, like, you know, probably more than anything else, because I don't want to be here every second of the day. And they're the ones, you know, doing the work. And you know, so I remember making it like my number one priority from month one to make sure that we had amazing coaches that wanted to work here and wanted to stay working here.
So this is usually the part of the program where I dig right into the, you know, the nitty gritty of why it works. Like, why is it that you can provide an opportunity for coaches that can make a good living? Our number, actually, I want to dig into that number, but I'm not going to bore everybody with that. I think I've learned my lesson, because I usually would do this educational moment where I go right into the math. And for me, I geek out on that. Like, I love the math. And I was an engineer, but to tell you the truth, I hated math and engineering. But out here in the real world, when you figure it out and it makes a difference in people's lives and makes things work, I just find that exciting. I'm not going to do that. We're going to go over, I'll come back to that. I
hate it more. Yeah, we're like the exact opposite. We're like, oh, we have to track numbers.
Yeah, I get excited by that. I was like, if I can figure that number out and I can move that number, I'm going to have no worries. I want to have no worries. So, and I don't know, my brain, Tom and I get right into it deep again. But, okay. So was Melissa, let's do a little introduction for Melissa. Was Melissa there? Did you inherit Melissa, or did you find Melissa?
No, so we actually just sat down, like, in order to buy the affiliate, I had to go get my L1, right? Like, in order for them to transfer it to my name. So I go sit in this L1 and I'm like, I don't even want to be here because I don't want to coach, but I wanted to do this whole business thing. So I was there and I sat and walked in and I was like, oh, hey, Melissa. Like, I knew her from the gym, just as somebody didn't even know she was going to be there that weekend.
Someone you worked out with.
Yeah.
Client. And not even at the same class time, honestly. It was
we
like
did not know each other well.
Yeah.
And she was kind of looking to get into it at that time. So she was not a coach here when the Berlins owned the gym, but started coaching at a couple gyms, I think, you know, when she first got her L1 and we had bought the gym. but I think after a year or two, she got rid of the other places and kind of came all in with us here. And then, what do you remember what year it was?
3.5 years.
So I guess probably around the 2-year mark for me of owning the gym, she was, you know, absolutely our most successful coach. She was the one that I just kind of felt like was all in with me. And I felt like I could trust her with anything. And she just like was as invested as I was in the whole thing outside of the ownership and you know, that side of the financial piece. So I think I brought it up to her for probably 6 months or longer before she was like really even interested in entertaining the conversation. And it's funny, people think that like I wouldn't say it, but I've absolutely said it to her 1,000 times. My goal was absolutely to trap her here with me.
Get her pregnant and barefoot so she can't go anywhere.
So I knew what I was doing, and it was to make sure that she couldn't go anywhere else.
Okay, so Melissa, let's pick it up there. So you were going to that gym, but then you started working at other gyms. Take us through your journey here.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of cool to just see like the backside of going through your typical CrossFit coach journey that most people outside of Madlab systems do. So I was just a member here that loved to work out. I was not a hybrid member. I was what we'd call a legacy membership. I remember the town hall meeting when the previous owners rolled out this Madlab system. It was like a foreign language. I don't think it was exactly explained well. And we're like, what? Like, this makes no sense. So things definitely like started to change with like new people coming in with the coaches. At that point, I did go get my L1, hadn't told anyone here at Cornerstone that I was even interested in coaching here. I live about 25 minutes away, and the gym close to my home was like aggressively trying to get me to coach there. So when I ran into Laura, she's like, well, what do you feel about like coaching here too? So I coached both and made crap money working hourly wages. I worked 5 a.m. 5 days a week. I'd go back in the lunchtime. I'd go back at nighttime 3 times a day between 2 gyms to make zero money like at the end of the day. And just exhausted myself for literally no reason. So when Laura first approached me at ownership, it just kind of went over my head. I was like, that's not for me. Like, I don't even know anything about the backside of the gym. And then she kind of just kept having the conversation with me until it was like, hey, we're going to do this. So I got my husband on board, and he was fully supportive. And it was nice because at that point, I still was like even helping with the other gym, that was kind of like my clean break to be fully invested into like coaching as a career. So I feel like even though I was a full-time coach, that ownership opportunity really like put me full steam ahead into Madlab system, not only for me, but for coaches we were bringing on as well too. And just seeing like how successful you can be in it when you work really hard.
How long over at the other gym, like they're good people, they're well-meaning people, I would take it, and you were like there for a while. How long did it take for you to figure out that there was no future in it?
That's a hard question because I don't think I got into coaching thinking this would be my future. Just kind of did it because it was fun, and I had the flexibility and like a husband that allowed me to kind of like figure out what the next step in my life would be. But I knew from like step one, there was no way unless I worked 100 hours a week that could be what we would consider a successful career. So it was pretty quick on. I knew I was working some pretty crap hours for not a lot in return.
Right. So what were you doing before this?
A lot of like just odds and ends. I had an office job, and then my husband and I, like when we met, we had 2 little ones each. So I had 4 little kids at home and 4 car seats all at the same time. So that was kind of my like prime role at the time, and I needed something that allowed me to have space away from that. And the gym was that.
Yeah, and you get yourself fit, and you have a community of friends, all this stuff. All right, so I'm taking it. Laura laid out what the compensation structure looked like, which excited you to go and try this out full time. Is that how it went down, or how did it go down that all of a sudden you're
she was very like transparent with everything with the sheets and potential. And I like numbers and math, and you can plug things in and see what your potential is. And I think it was hard because that was like never my motivator, and I think she knew that about me. Like my motivator was like work hard, have a great community, like be surrounded by good people. So it was exciting to see the numbers, but that was always like the back end of the excitement. It was more of like, okay, we've grown a class from 10 people to 20 people, or we've added this new program, or we have all these events now, and look how many people have shown up. So I think it was more about that growth in the beginning for me that made it exciting rather than compensation. I can sit here now 5 years later and say, the compensation was very nice and well earned.
Well, you wouldn't have been able to done it without the compensation. It would get really
Correct,
old,
yeah.
really tiring, and you'd fucking hate Laura, and you'd hate life, and your husband would have to be like, all right, dude,
Correct.
2 failed attempts. What are we doing next?
Right.
Astronaut. Okay, so now I'll dig into some of the nitty gritty with you. When you started, did they give you any clients, or you had to start from square one finding your first client? That's everybody's biggest fear. How do I get it? You know?
Yeah, no, great question. I would say 50-50. So we had a full-time coach that was transitioning out of here when I was coming on. So I absorbed some of those people naturally that I already had relationships with. I probably started with like 10 people for my tribe, which is a great start because still put a lot of one-on-one time in meeting with them. And then had some people come in, self-referral from them, gym leads, and then personal training, and then started kids stuff. So it was a little bit of everything, but I would say it was 50-50 of what I absorbed and then what I decided I wanted to grow and do as well.
What percentage did they start you off at? Which percentage did she start you off at?
Yeah, 28-30.
Say again, sorry?
So the 28-36%.
28-36. So just to kind of give everybody a caveat is listen here, whether you're a gym owner or you're a coach or you're just curious, every state, it appears, every province and every country has different tax laws around how this works, whether you're an employee or a contractor, and then how much, the employer has to pay an employee tax even before the employee gets taxed. So the percentages are different. In our facility, we're straight up independent contractors by law. So the people set their own schedules. They come and go when they want, all this kind of stuff. So it's if you bring in a client, you get the top level after you've gone through the apprentice program or whatnot. You make 50% of the gross revenue on everything. So fundamentals, monthly membership, hybrids, whatever, right? And which is a revolution in the industry. If you're coaching a group class somewhere, if you knew how to do the math, you're making about 8 to 12% of the gross revenue. If you're working in a gym where they do the 4 nights and you're coaching 15 group classes and maybe doing 10 hours of PT, you're making about 23%. So of the gross, even before any of the taxes are figured out. So what Melissa is getting herself involved in here, at the purest level before taxes get involved, is between 40 and 50% of the gross revenue. Taxes and all this different stuff gets figured out later. So, okay, what did your first paycheck look like?
Oh gosh. Well, my first one probably as a full-time coach, like full-time, was probably like $1,500. But that was like back in the good old days. But again, I was lucky enough to not lucky, but absorb some people into my tribe, right off.
That's a great first day check. When people listen to this go, $1,500, like the biggest hurdle, the reason why I'm asking these questions is I'm sure you've encountered it yourself with new coaches, is how do you get them from thinking they know a whole lot, but they don't know how to generate revenue, they don't know how to sell clients, they don't know how to get referrals, they don't know how to do any of this stuff really that is important to the business, right? They can go in and coach a class, but going in and coaching a class, making $25 or $30 an hour and leaving, Laura, how valuable is that really to the business?
Not very.
Not very, right? So you guys, I think it was Melissa, gave us a referral of Patrick and Sarah. They're another gym in Cornerstone, in Cincinnati, right? And one of the things that when I was actually interviewing them to see if we want to take them on, because I had someone else doing sales before, and if I gave one more shitty group of people to Audrey, she was probably going to divorce me. So I was making sure, that we were bringing in only good people. And thank you so much for referring them. They're great people. I was like, okay, we have great coaches. Like everybody I talked to is, oh yeah, we got the best coaches in the industry. I go, well, how much money did they bring in for you last month? Or how much revenue did they generate last month? And then they get, right? So that step of the biggest hurdle I think on our system is going from, you don't know how to actually make money to, okay, now you're getting a paycheck. And the first few probably shouldn't be very big, because how in the hell could you possibly bring in 20 clients in 1 month in our system, right? So $1,500 is not bad. That's actually pretty good. We've had people. The hurdle in this system is you can't make money until you figure out how to be good, and it's going to take a year or two, even if you're experienced. So take me through.
Oh yeah.
$1,500 for the month. Sorry. Take me through what the first year looked like. As you came on as a coach first, not as like a business owner first, did you?
Correct.
Okay, take me through the first year. What did that first year look like?
Was honestly just, I took anything and everything. Like if someone needed a 5M client, if someone needed, it did not matter the time of day. I made it work in my schedule, and I honestly like worked really, really, really hard.
Let me interrupt her really quick because it's funny to her story. We were at an event one time, which was a brewery hop. She was a few months into it.
Yeah.
And then had a few drinks, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm gonna build an empire." And then she just did.
Yeah.
So go on.
Yeah. But
like
it just, again, it was about like building the community. And yes, obviously the money was like nice, and it was nice to see that sheet grow and just the numbers change on the bottom. But anything and everything was an opportunity, and it wasn't just bringing on one client. That client has friends and siblings and parents and neighbors that could also benefit from what we do here. So everything, I keep telling our coaches now, like time up front, like time invested is money in the long run. And you might have to work really hard up front, but it will pay off if you keep at it. And I feel like I worked really, really hard that first year and probably overworked myself a little bit, but then was able to pull back on the reins and be like, you know what, I can slow down now. Like I earned this.
Yeah. It's a beautiful system in that way. That you can be lazy now and then. You need to be. I mean, you couldn't be full go all the time. And in the other world, the whole rest of the fitness industry, you take 2 weeks off, you come back, you're screwed, right? There's no money coming in. Okay, so how long were you working as a coach before you gave the speech over here that I'm going to build an empire? Well, that was the empire speech, and you went and built it. So now you built your tribe up to how many people did you have in your? They tell me I'm not allowed to use the word tribe anymore, but you just used it, so we'll go along with it. How many people in your book of business before you were approached for partnership?
Probably a consistent like 60 to 70, but then I had a lot of specialty groups. We started our like CrossFit Kids programs, ran summer camps, like PT, like did a bunch of other things on top of that, and just kind of tried to like not just have one source of revenue, but have like multiple sources so that if something went here, I could pick it up here, pick it up here.
So you're truly an entrepreneur. Now you're an entrepreneur, but that's really what it takes, is that entrepreneurial spirit is what the people were looking for, right? Like, just describe to me your mindset during. I think Laura's done a pretty good job of describing that mindset. But if someone's listening to this podcast, or you had to talk to anybody to come in as a new coach, or what would you say to them? What does it take to succeed?
I mean, you got to put your head down and grind. And I always like tell a lot of our new people too, like the first 3 months are just to learn everything about Cornerstone, learn everything about Madlab system. Like we can't expect from month 0 to month 3, like, oh, I'm making my dream income. Like, oh, well, here I go. I'm going to put everything else I do in my world in this. Like it's probably a good year of building for a lot of our coaches till they get to that sustainable, what they would think income, that this is their like full career. We've definitely had coaches build faster to that if they were willing to just grind like I did. Like, hey, you want to come here 3 times a day sometimes? I'm going to be here 6 or 7 days a week. That's not forever, but it might be for a little bit. But that's the beauty of the system. It's up to you of how fast or slow you want to grow and how little or how much you want to make.
Yeah. We've got a couple of guys in our gym now, 3 of them that are over 15 years old. One's in his 50s, the other 2 are quickly approaching it. And they're still doing it, and they're kind of like old dogs that I got to take out for a walk now and then because they don't want to. But they still looks like, to me, they're some of my best friends. Look like they love it. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. You got to be able to be lazy at some point, but you got to be able to work your ass off early, right? And then you can kind of, it's like any business. Okay, so go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, it's great, like 5 years into this, like I still love taking new people on, but my new people are direct referrals that are just saying, I'm only working with you. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Because again, we have a lot of coaches that would love to help build, like love to pass on, but I was still taking people, just maybe it's 2 a month, and that's okay. That's great.
My favorite point in my life, really, definitely in my career, was probably 2009 to 2014 when I had that probably had 80 clients at the time, and we didn't have hybrid memberships back then. I hadn't figured it out, so I was only working 3 hours a week on the floor, and I was raising apprentices. And those 60 to 80 clients paying $200 a month, you can do the math. That's like 120 to 140,000 a year, which was basically pure money right in my pocket. And then I had 5 full-time coaches making another 15 or 20% EBITDA. And I tell you, that was the favorite time of my life. When I started Madlab Group, so I did, for some reason I had to take it one more step and try and teach gym owners and coaches like yourself. It's been another whole learning experience. So how many clients do you have now, Melissa, that you train?
Yeah, so because we just did payroll, know that. So I'm sitting at about 60, and that's pretty comfortable for me just to kind of float there and be lazy.
And how many hours a week are you working on the floor for that?
So I'm on the floor 6 hours. I did a couple specialty groups this summer just with some sports teams. Again, I'll take some clients through fundamentals and then keep clients off and on in and out of sports season. But so like actually on the floor a week, probably 8 to 10 hours plus a couple hours for hybrid sessions. So
right.
I mean, max in a busy week, 15 hours on the floor.
Right. And what is your paycheck
However,
look like?
I will just add in that we have her slightly under what our class requirement is for our full-time coaches, just because of
Right.
some of the other stuff she does.
Yeah, she should be coaching 8 hours of classes a week.
Yeah,
probably.
the other ones do.
Yeah, that's good. You taking that out of her paycheck so you can pay somebody else?
No, I mean she
You
does
should.
other work.
You should.
The coaching hours are other like programming
Right.
and other stuff like
You could be getting a percentage of the business for doing other stuff, like 5% for
correct.
this.
The
and
hours
that
are
kind of stuff.
those other two.
All right, you guys have just made that a wash. What's your paycheck for being a coach every month? Not in the business owner or not any other roles.
Like currently or like all time high or
Just currently, like, what's your average month look like, or
yeah. So currently, like average month just sitting is probably like $4,500 being lazy. When I was like, there were months when I was like grinding and really was after that number. It was like $6,000 or $7,000. But
Right.
again, with kids and sports and activities and a husband traveling, that wasn't sustainable.
Right. So that's just
For
the
me.
coach. Like the thing I'm trying to get across to people listening is nearly every gym, and I've looked at over 1,000 of them, and you look at their finances and that, there's no real role for them being, I get paid this amount for being a coach, and I get paid this much for being the
Right.
GM, I get paid this much as a dividend for the owner, and this kind of thing. So, yeah, that's good. Okay, let's bring it back to Laura again here. So why did you decide you told us why you decided to approach her. How did you decide to approach her, and how far in did you know, wow, she had built her empire, she's a superstar? Like, what did that look like to go do this deal?
Well, I think we said that it was like about the 2.5 year mark of me
Yeah.
being her when but it was probably a 6 to 12 month conversation before that. I mean, I feel like, I was new to the whole system. I had these few coaches. I think you're the only one from the very get-go. The other, I think you met Seneca. He was the one that really did more of the Madlab implementation, but his wife was military and they were transferred to Florida, and been a few changes. So, but I think I knew by a year in of her doing the system that she had figured it out. Again, it was new to me. It wasn't like I had seen the amount of coaches that I have at this point to really know that it was. I probably didn't even realize at that point.
Yeah.
She figured it out kind of on her own. I didn't know how to do it or to teach her. I mean, now some of our new coaches, we meet with them weekly. We have different markers that we're looking for with them. We didn't have any of that for her. She kind of just went and did it. So I don't know if I'm answering her question, but I think I definitely knew after the first year that she had built something that was unique, and but probably started having those conversations with her by the 1.5 year mark, and then probably we signed our deal. We have a nice champagne picture. Probably at the 2.5 year mark or so.
Can you send me that photo?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, I like
That's
those
every
photos.
year, that's our memory.
So how did you agree upon a price and a percentage? That's the big question.
I don't remember the percentage wise. We just kind of talked about I guess what she wanted to invest, and I think for her it was less about the percentage amount and again, the finances of it all, and more just kind of about like feeling that sense of ownership and having something that was hers and something that she was proud of. Maybe
No,
for
it's,
you,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I'm a jaded
and then-
individual. I don't believe any of that stuff anymore, Melissa. If the number's wrong, the relationship falls apart and you hate each other. So
And
you
then
must have got the
for-
number right. You both are happy.
As far
Yeah.
as the number, like for what it costs, I do think we went through like another analysis
Yeah.
at that point with another CPA or whatever, and we kind of figured out what the current valuation of it was. And then to be very honest, we kind of like she wrote a check and bought in for a portion of it, and then some percentage shares we kind of gifted to her, but figured it out paper wise. Because I really felt like at that point, 2.5 years in, the growth that we had achieved was just as much her success, like with me.
Yeah. No, I like it. I like it. There's a lot of trust there and a lot of respect. So just for the fans listening at home, the number that we advocate is 5 times EBITDA. So if you can figure out your real earnings number, so earnings before interest, taxes, and amortization, so it's before the accountants get a hold of it, before the tax purposes, that's the value of your company. Most gyms don't have any EBITDA, so it's 5 times EBITDA plus value of assets. That's why all these gyms are sold for what's left in the gym, right? So I take it you had some EBITDA. You guys did a deal. How much percentage do you own now, Melissa?
10%.
10%. You got a lot out of her for 10%. That's I like that. You get the soul and the heart of the whole business for 10%. That's awesome. That's awesome.
No, it does not feel like that. Laura, when she approached me, she really, again, like really pushed me into this because again, I was happy just coaching, not just coaching, but she goes, I want you to be able to like go somewhere and be like that is mine, like a piece, like I am a part of that, like and I don't think I valued or really understood that at the time, but like a couple years into it, like that is what it's about.
That's awesome. I love that.
Well, and it also wasn't a conversation of like that's all you can
No,
own.
yeah,
It
there
was
was
just
just-
kind of that's what she wanted to contribute
Yeah.
at that point,
Yes.
and we always just said that we'd keep it as a thing that would be able to be reevaluated. So
Well, I'll let you know something that's very special with your relationship that doesn't work very often. I've fucked that one up. Excuse my English, French, Japanese, whatever. I fucked that one up at least 3 times in my life with the thought of if they own some, they'll work harder. And my experience has been the exact opposite. As soon as they own something, they become entitled and they don't want to get their hands dirty with anything. That's somebody else's problem. I'm an owner. So, congratulations. Once again, it's amazing to see. I think if we sat around with a couple of drinks in hand, we'd really get to the bottom of this relationship. There's something pretty special going on here. It's just not based on pure economics, which is about all I trust anymore.
I think that one thing that is probably different about us than, she said she likes math and spreadsheets, but we probably look at some of this stuff less than like you would even tell us is ideal. So it's just not like I don't think it's the place that we necessarily operate from all the time. If that makes
That's really good. It means you got a good. The number at the end of the day, you got to look at it. That's pretty good, and life is good, and we're not any kind of financial constraints. And why do we want to bother going raising everybody's rates 20%? Because the interest is coming, and so I'll ask you a quick question: have you raised interest? Have you raised your rates significantly since this big surge of inflation's happened, or no?
We do a lot. We've done just actually only one like across the board rate increase for existing members. We've always found it has felt easier to us to just increase our rates for incoming members or what we're offering as minimum level service or whatnot. And I feel like it usually just kind of like picks up and plays out from there. So, we've raised incoming rates quite a few times. Definitely have raised nutrition and like our lifestyle coaching rates a number of times. It just feels like work-wise easier than.
Yeah. No, those are hard conversations. That's stuff I really haven't enjoyed doing. You own your building, right?
We did. We bought our building maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So
There was actually when we purchased the business, the lease assumption that we did, it was already like predetermined in the initial lease that there was going to be a window of time that the building could be purchased. It was like a 3-month window, and the price was set in 2013, which worked out really for us. They're actually building a Costco across the street. We have a new
Wow.
hospital. Like, hopefully, the value of our building in our area.
Yeah, it's really fortunate. Our cost of our building is $20 million, so that's that's just impossible. Like, Vancouver's out of control. My rent in the building we're in 2009 was $6,000 a month. My the rent I paid last month was $21,600. Right?
Yeah, our building value is probably $1 million now, and we paid $750 for it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even gone that ridiculous. Anyway, so that put pressure on us to have to go back, and 3 times now I have to go back and look at 2 big ones, to go back and say, hey, we got people paying $185 a month, and we got other people paying $300 a month for the same service. Basically, when I went back, people that have been there 15 years, they were really good friends, and I'd be like, listen, I said I'd grandfather your rate because that's what everybody was doing back then, but that's a really big mistake. For people listening, you do not want to grandfather rates. What you want to do is put a cost of index multiplier in there every year. You just do it automatically, and you have a conversation with someone really, really sincerely at the end of the fundamentals phase and go, hey, you're in a membership now, this is how it works. So you don't have to go back. But if you did even 3%, $185 a month, 3% a year, 15 years, your summer's around $250 anyway. Okay, so how many full-time coaches you got?
We're just writing down. I mean, the full-time is always like how do you determine what somebody's version of full-time is? But I would say 6 that we consider, that are on commission pay, that work in the system, that share, that each do, for the most part. We have a couple coaches here and there that exchange hours for other things, but for the most part, coach 8 classes a week. And then I guess just, what do we have, 3 now, like building little accessory coaches.
Yeah.
That's they help out with weekend hours and classes and this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's actually outstanding. Very well done. Got the you guys got the dream business there, and you're like, hey, we could do a lot of things better. So I like it. Okay, let's ask what things, looking back on the last 5 years, Laura, would you change or could you have done better sitting where you are right now?
Oh, I know, the floor, that was traumatic.
Well, we bought a second location.
Oh yeah, I was waiting to hear this one. There's a whole treasure trove of stuff. I told Audrey to tell Laura not to do it, even if they gave you money for the business. I said if they gave you 50 grand, tell her not to take it.
Well, essentially, I feel like we bought the equipment, and I don't think we regret it necessarily, but we're laughing because we spent hours upon hours, because when we had to get out of that space was leased, and when we weren't going to renew the lease, we ripped all the flooring out, and then we spent hours upon hours just scraping glue off the floor. And we were like angry.
Oh, yeah. Why do people bother gluing it down, right? Don't glue your bats down.
But honestly, that location though was 5 miles, if that, from where we are now. If people didn't move, we absorbed most of that membership up here because it is so close. So at the end of the day, like, it didn't make sense to operate 2 locations that close together when we could do everything in-house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like on that topic of that whole experience, I think that both Melissa and I would say that probably, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't say this, but I might still do the whole thing again.
Yeah, I would.
If I had it to do over again, because I think some of the lessons that we learned out of it on what to do here now, because we kind of had these ideas of wanting to run different programs down there. We didn't want to have a second CrossFit gym 5 miles down the road. So we launched kind of something that's been more of a dream of mine just on the health side of things, what we call Cornerstone Signature Health Programs. And at this point, we're kind of like sitting on, probably need to reevaluate that whole thing and how to operate it. But we have learned a lot from those experiences and programs, and have continued that here. We just figured out we can actually do that here too.
So you had an idea, we'll try some new programs over in the new facility and test run them and see how they work.
Yeah, so we have people now that, we've it's been just piloting the whole thing and figuring out, and right now, to be honest, we're kind of in a coasting phase, so I'm really not head down grinding on trying to figure this thing out. But we do have some clients that are doing it. They basically are higher touch clients that do more personal training. They do nutrition coaching. They get a monthly massage through the massage therapists that are in our building, which aren't our employees, but they have access to like our red light therapy and our Fit 3D machine and just like some of the different things. And they're paying $1,000 a month usually for their package service.
That's nice. Okay, tell me a little bit about your nutrition program. That what did you just call it? The Fit 3D? Is it that's part of the
I
like?
still have one to sell you. When
Yeah, well, we were trying to figure that out. We got to get it up here, I guess. So I'm doing this for Tom, my GM, to listen. We're trying to figure out with this rent increase, we're throwing all kinds of stuff against the board. Like we've been sort of just purists. You come in, you do your first day assessment. You're going to do your 3-day assessment. Sorry, consult 3-day assessment. You're going to go 15 or 18 PTs. You're going to sign up to a hybrid membership for $300 a month. We're not going to have too many coaches to swamp this place, and my old-time coaches will let them be a little lazy. That's kind of been the business model, and we'll raise new apprentices when we want to or we got time for it. Because I was busy with Madlab Group and trying to find people like yourself. So we can no longer be this complacent in our facility with the rent increase. Like I said, $6,000 a month, 2009, $21,500 now. It's you need to find new ways. So this is me and you talking to Tom. Say, okay, here's another revenue generator. Here's how it works. Go.
So you're asking about the nutrition side.
Well, yeah, I want to raise more. You said you have a whole other revenue sources that are outside of just the regular fitness stuff. Go.
Yeah, so nutrition we launched, I guess, I would say 3 years ago. I just like that to me, like I've always had more of a passion for nutrition and coaching people in that aspect than even the fitness side of things. And I knew it was a gap. I knew it was something that was like such a buzzword that people are always asking about out on the gym floor and wanting more help with, but I just didn't exactly know like how to deliver that service or how to teach the coaches how to do that. And I thought that it needed to be much more complicated. Like we would probably have to bring a registered dietitian on and all this stuff. And that is like not the case at all. So you probably heard me talk. We actually use the WAG affiliate program just because of their seismic platform where we're able to set all of our nutrition up electronically. So it doesn't utilize any gym floor space. The coaches earn much higher percentages off of their nutrition clients for that reason. Again, we still do kind of a split of like, if it's a gym member, that was a gym lead, they earn a lower percentage off of it versus if it's a self-referral. But in general, they're earning 60 to 70% off of their nutrition clients. But they utilize our Fit 3D machine if the client is local, and I buy some marketing materials and stuff. But outside of that, I don't really have expense, and we pay for the platform, which there is some associated with that. But
and the clients love it.
So, say that again.
It's been a successful program with the clients.
Absolutely. So I just looked. We brought in $80,000 last year off of just strictly nutrition, and our clients, our coaches. That some of the when I was telling you, we had another full-time coach who had a tribe of people, but she started doing nutrition and she started building her nutrition. And then she kind of got like, she's the one that we said like kind of burned herself out, like was too maxed out with, she felt like she was almost doing 2 full-time jobs at that point. And so she kind of came and said like, I got to pick one or the other. And she wanted to go the nutrition route because it gives her more flexibility over her schedule with her kids and travel and whatnot. Still does a few personal training clients, but now she has dropped down to strictly being a nutrition coach that's web-based. So for that service, like our base level
and she
nutrition,
still pays you the percentage that you have. Yeah, that's the danger of giving too high a percentage in that thing is it doesn't make sense to be working on the floor for 40% anymore. Yeah, I think I'll bring my percentages down on that. We'll see.
I will tell you though, the nutrition had grown so much, so we honestly needed somebody that wanted to take the reins and go with it. So it worked out.
And there are
take and go.
There are several. It's interesting because you kind of see a lot about like coaches' passions kind of come to light with it. There are quite a few of our fitness coaches who are nutrition certified and will take on a client here and there from their tribe. but they do not want very many of them because it's much more like emotionally taxing to get into that stuff with people. So I have some coaches that love it and that's what they want to do. Other coaches like that are just like, no thanks. Like even if I have a nutrition certification and it's my client, I'm sending them somewhere else for that coaching because I don't want to do it.
Yeah. we have one of our apprentices that recently graduated to a full-time coach, Karan, and she did a lot of training around, dysfunctional eating disorders and dysfunction around food and all this stuff. And, I think she did, a year or two of education around it, and she started a specialty program, and then it became almost too much, and she backed it down to do more of both, the training along with it. But I know she did a lot of training for that. Like, if I'm going to take some of my older coaches and get them in the nutrition stuff, how much training is it going to take for them to learn how to sell it and deliver it?
It's almost sad how easy it is to go get a nutrition coaching certification, if I'm honest with you. I have a couple. You can do weekend seminars, like a CrossFit, like an L1, where you go for the weekend to get it.
Yeah.
The WAG program is self-paced online. You kind of have somebody that's coaching your coaching scenario.
So the WAG people could train my coaches on how to do this as well?
Yes, absolutely. And
What's
it's
a WAG? What's the name of their website? WAG.
Working Against Gravity is their name. Audrey has I've talked to her about all that before. But we charge anywhere between $189 and $279 for nutrition coaching, kind of depending on what the client wants.
Per month? Wow.
And that's a week in remote online.
Crazy.
So the WAG recommendation, once the coach gets good at it, it should take them 15 minutes to do a check-in response. So you can, break all the math down there with dollars per hour and time spent and all that stuff.
And you've been doing it for long enough. There's no disasters, but I paid all this money and it didn't work, or the coach was shitty, and this is a good return on investment, no brainer.
Yeah, we've been doing that for 2 years now. We've helped coaches pay for certifications before and then had kind of disasters with them on other ends, but nothing directly related to the nutrition.
Okay.
I just want to say, we're making it sound like it's really easy. It is easy to get the certification, but our nutrition team, because there's a handful of them here, they're actual nutrition coaches, meet and are diving into resources together and how to respond and going through client scenarios, and things like that too. So it's not just hey, go spend an hour doing this and you can do whatever you want. To be a part of the Cornerstone team, there's an expectation of time you're in this building spending, learning together as well and developing, not just hey, I got this paper certificate, I can do what I want on my own at home.
Good save, Melissa. You came and bailed her out of that one. Good save. I like it from gym owner to gym owner. It's hey, you can easily get set up, and then you can figure it out, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's super easy to get the certification. It doesn't mean you know anything or you're any good. Just like with fitness, you come out of the L1, it doesn't mean you know shit about coaching fitness.
No.
But there's a lot of
there's an expectation here of development.
So you get going on it and you learn as you go, and you have lots of resources you can draw from, and you got a team of coaches that are probably meeting about it every week, and we can get better at it. So we'll start off with a few people, and maybe a year from now we'll have a bunch more, and we'll know a lot more.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so life is good. The husband's happy with you, Melissa.
Yeah.
Right? This little fucking venture of yours turned out to be something pretty good. You're fulfilled as a human being. You're making lots of money for the family. Laura, you got 4 kids you're managing over there as well, or 2.5, or 2 and 2, or 2 and 50% of a half of one, or I don't know, some math over there, right?
3. I have 3.
You got 3. Melissa's got the 2, and there's a 2 and then a 2, right?
Yeah.
So you you ladies, super busy, super successful. Got the hair and makeup done for me. Life is good, right? You got your average client values up over with the nutrition, probably around averaging $250 to $300 a month. Your retention rate is better than 80% a year. Stone cold faces. I'm asking you. We're checking through the boxes. I have to do the 6. It might be the 6 KPIs. It might be the 6 KPIs podcast here, so I got to go through. Average client value over 250. Retention rate 80% a year. Supposed to go yes if it's yes. Yeah, no problem. Dollar per coach hour. Where are we at?
Averaging about 75.
Beautiful. Great answer. People are making at least what the average.
When you are figuring that out with people, are you using floor hours or like
Just floor hours? Yeah, it's a
count? I feel like it makes it sound a little falsely inflated because if they're doing their jobs well, they are spending more time not on the floor, but
well done. So they're actually incentivized to take care of the client outside of the gym, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say there's another 50%, 40%, 30%, like a 1.3 multiplier, floor hours to 1.5 multiplier. So let's say you work 20 hours on the week. 20 times 1.5 is 30, right? So if you work 20 hours on the floor, you're probably working 30 hours overall. Does that make sense? Are you guys getting called by the husband right now? Melissa looks worried.
Yeah, I think that sounds accurate, what you were just saying.
Yeah, so it's a multiplier between 1.3 and 1.5. I know some of our coaches are maybe 1.2, but they smoke a lot of weed and stuff, and they're chilling maybe a little more than I was. I think my number was probably 1.7 back in my day, but I had a lot of fun doing it, so it didn't seem like a job. Okay, you're making profit. You're grossing, you did the proper gross revenue number. You got 6 coaches. They're making more than the average household income. They're averaging $75 per hour on the floor. You get your average client values in place. You got your retention. Fucking life is good over here, right?
Yes.
What's next? What next?
We just talked about this yesterday.
Well, that's it. They could be like, okay, life's fucking good. Let's see if we can make it miserable here. Let's find some way to make our life miserable and chew off more than we can. That's what I've always done.
Last year.
Yeah. We're leaving tomorrow, both at the same time, to go to the same place, away from the business. It's not like someone's here holding down the fort, and both of us are not.
Well, they are. I mean, our coaches.
Yeah, no, they are. But like, we're good. We're like, we're not like, you're not here. Like, life is good. We can.
Yeah,
leave.
you can leave, and no one's going to have to call you. No matter what happens. I don't know, other than the building burning or something like that. But they might not even call you then. But you own the building. You're probably going to get a call on a burning building. But yeah, what's next?
We literally just talked about this yesterday, and it hasn't ever really been a conversation. Yeah. So we'll have to get back to you. But we're kind of like thinking like that. So
I like that answer. I like that you guys have created some things in your business, some extra value there. I stayed away from the nutrition thing and all that stuff because I came from my background was purely athletics, and then CrossFit, and it was like, oh, the paleo will just solve all that problem. Don't worry about it, or just do the zone, right?
But honestly, like you guys do, I think a lot of we call it nutrition, but it's really lifestyle coaching. We're talking to people about their sleep. We're helping them to track that. We're talking to them about stress and helping to engage their parasympathetic nervous system in response to these kind of workouts. We're talking to them about their emotional health. I mean, it's everything. And so I think it's just formalizing a process and a way to deliver that coaching, and then how to compensate the coaches for doing that coaching.
I think it's awesome. I think I'm gonna meet with Tom on Tuesday, and we're picking this torch up, and so I'll be calling you to.
We always tell people, like, when we're trying to convince them of the need for that, like, it's great for you to come in here for an hour a day, but let's have us help you on the other 23 hours of your day if you really want to get anywhere with your health and your
totally. Like, I just lost over the last few months. I lost 20 pounds. Thanks a lot for noticing, girls. I appreciate that.
You can really tell from the headshots.
You're the same as everybody else. No, I had a lot to lose. I guess the guy loses 22 pounds. Nobody notices, but maybe one guy, right? So I had the neck injury. Life went pretty far down a path. But I started doing the Noom app back in early March. You ever heard of it? Noom. Noom. They've got commercials on TV all the time.
Yes, I have heard of it.
And it's all about that. It's all about the psychology of it, your nervous system and stuff, and But I had to start logging my food again. I hadn't done it in 12 years or more, because Rob Wolf told me you can eat as much as you want, meat and fat, and you'll self-satiate. Well, Robbie, you're full of shit. There's no way. I could eat cheese till the day came home, then put just a small amount of booze on it, and I want more bread, right? But you're not allowed to eat bread. But I would eat steak. I would sit up and eat a 30-ounce steak. Anyway, I started logging. I was having 3,000 calories of fat a day, just doing CrossFit, man. Just doing CrossFit, dude, and doing paleo. And that got 51 years old. It got out of hand. So, So the Noom thing, I wanted to put my guys onto it, but I think your WAG, and Audrey's been telling me about your WAG for a while, so I think that's on it. Okay, so let me.
Another company, but we can.
Yeah, no, it's a whole other company. We'll figure out a referral fee for you. We'll talk about that. Okay, so what I've always done, I started off training people. I was an engineer. I built my own business, sold it, started building another engineering business, somehow ran into fitness again. Started off $5 an hour. I raised my rates to $10, lost half my clients. Fast forward, I had 60 clients, and then fast forward, I have 6 full-time coaches. And then fast forward, all of a sudden I got 60 gyms, and fast forward, all of a sudden I got 200 and some gyms. And I just kept on pushing the limit to see where it was. I think Audrey thought I was Superman. I hit my limit. And it wasn't pretty when I hit that limit. It was like I couldn't work any more hours. I just could not do any more. And I had a young family. And I destroyed my life for like 5 years trying to dig a hole out of it. So I will, if your life is good, why bother changing anything, man? Just coach your enjoy your life, coach your people in my gym. If I go back and talk to myself in 2013 when I reinvested to start Madlab Group, I would tackle me, beat the piss out of me, and say, "You're not stopping that. You're not starting it, man. You're gonna enjoy the next 7 years of your life. You're not gonna bust your butt. You're not gonna bust your ass, put on 50 pounds, stressed out of your skull for nothing because you're already making $270,000 a year, dude. What more do you need? Just go do the job you're doing now and have fun with it." If I could go back and talk to that guy, I would do it right now. I go back and beat the piss out of me, and I got about 50 pounds on that guy, so I think I'd have a good chance. All right. You're the first people that have actually, in the podcast tour, you're the first people out of a dozen or so that have said, "You know what? Life's good. I don't really need anything new." Right?
Yeah.
Like that. That's the best answer yet. So I got one more question for you. How awesome is Audrey?
She is amazing. Absolutely. For sure. I tell people all the time. I mean, like Melissa doesn't meet with her as often, but I talk about her, like our team acts like they know her, even though they've never really met her. Because I'm like, well, Audrey says this, and I honestly, I need to get back to some more routine calls with her, but I do always feel like they're valuable. I've, written little spiels for you guys before, but I think the major thing is that I've always felt like she meets me where I'm at and helps me to get one step better. I feel like there have been times where people have tried to shove a certain mold or a whole certain thing, just like put it on top of your business, and it doesn't really work like that for me, and I'm not comfortable with that. So I know she listens, she's always taking notes, and then she just helps me to kind of take the next step, because it can be overwhelming when you're like, I'm at A, I need to get to Z, but like really you just need the BCD for that week.
When did you start working with her? Did you start working with her right away, or you got her after a little while?
I was with Track first, and then
my boy Track. So I can remember when Audrey started with you. You had her text. You guys were texting all the time. And I was like, "Who are you texting with? You got a boyfriend over there? What's happening?" She said, "No, Laura. Laura's got this, or Laura's got that." You know what I mean? Like it's like Laura texting all the time, and I was like, "That's good." And she's my wife. She's the director of implementation for Madlab, and when she started 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember exactly how long ago it was. And basically, we were failing. We as a company were failing, and I said, "Audrey, just go grab every client that we have left and make them successful, and then write down how you did it." And that's what she's done. We have a great program now, and thank you so much for sticking with us and trusting her. And it looks like you're living the dream over there. I think every gym owner in the world should be listening to this podcast and then asking you how you did it.
They're gonna hate us.
And the beauty is, you don't even think you're that successful. It's like, we could be so much better. We're actually just slightly lazy.
They're definitely gonna not like us.
All right. I think that's our 45 minutes. Why don't you wrap it up with one final thing? Where do we find your gym? If someone's like, "Man, we're in Cincinnati, we got to come see you guys," how do we find you?
We are in Westchester, Ohio, which is a little north of Cincinnati, a little south of Dayton, honestly, probably right in the middle of both. We are open 7 days a week. We love when people can visit us. We love when people inquire. We love when people just want to communicate or network and just say, hey, if they're Madlab Gym or looking into Mad Labs and have a question. So please feel free to reach out anytime.